Okay, so hi. What am I doing today? Basically, trying to cash in on those sweet views because I'm assuming lots of people will be searching the Mavic Air right now. I feel like I'm kind of not necessarily invested in this, but at the same time have an interest for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that I already have a Mavic Pro. It's not particularly old. At the same time, it's not. I'm not particularly concerned that I'm going to look at the Mavic Air and be like, oh my god, I've wasted all this money on this Mavic Pro, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be a very capable and enjoyable toy to play with, a tool to make videos with. Although I haven't really included any Mavic footage in any of my videos yet, just because I haven't filmed anything that was like relevant. So there's a bunch of stuff about like the features, which I'm always kind of like, I mean, in fairness, they look like they come off of a pretty official looking document, so they're probably pretty accurate, but it looks like it's going to have the 3-axis gimbal, which the original Mavic already has. The Spark doesn't. One of the numbers on there is like a 30 megapixel pano mode, which to be fair, it doesn't excite me that much because I'm pretty sure, I mean, I've never even played with the pano modes and the random like sort of 360 spheres and stuff that you can make with the one I've got. That's not to say that some people, that might not be an amazing feature for them. It looks like, for me, I can't read Chinese, but it looks to me like it's got the hand gestures that the Spark has got, which is nice if you don't want to use controllers. What I don't think we do know at the moment is like what range it has. But the reality is, and I actually took one of my friends the other day to go and have a look at this. He was looking at getting the Spark, but he was worried that the range wasn't enough. So I took my Mavic out to a field with him, flew it away. I think it was 500 meters or whatever the range was, and it's pretty far away. You can barely see the Mavic, and it's like bigger than the Spark. So I think when you actually visualize how far these distances are away, you realize that the range, as long as it's between the Spark and a Mavic, the original ones, or further, but probably between the Spark and the Mavic, you're going to have plenty of range there. The range is not going to be an issue. I can't imagine DJI going below that. Excuse me. So the 3-axis gimbal, I mean, that's great. At the end of the day, DJI are banging out so many of these. They can obviously get them down to such a small size and get them to work really well. That's great. I mean, I'm not convinced that the 2-axis gimbal on the Spark was particularly bad. I mean, I've sort of seen lots of footage from those and they look pretty good, so, good A. I read that it said 4K at 60 frames per second. Now, I haven't seen where they got that figure from myself, but if they have, banging. I don't think they know about the image processing, the codecs and all that sort of stuff, which, if you're really into your image quality and all that sort of stuff, is probably going to be important. I mean, it is important. It's just a case of how realistic that's going to be the limiting factor on the footage that you get, because trust me, the footage I get from my Mavic and the best footage I've seen from a Mavic are two different things, and that's not my equipment that's the problem, that's my ability to use my equipment that is causing me the problem there. So I guess ultimately that's probably not going to be a limiting factor for the majority of people who buy it. I saw a price reckoned to be about $700, which is significantly cheaper than my Mavic was. I mean, technology marches forward, right? I'm not particularly concerned about the price. If they manage to achieve effectively better than this Mavic for $700, then that's fantastic as far as I'm concerned. I kind of feel like there's still like a bit of a misunderstanding about drones and stuff. I mean, I'm by no means like a professional drone flyer. I don't really know what I'm doing other than just trying to have a bit of fun and make some pretty interesting video. But people seem to be, like, don't be wrong, there's people who are interested by it. Like I got it out at the beach once. I mean, this was like an abandoned beach. It wasn't like I was flying over loads of people or anything. It was like a beach with no people on it. And some random sort of people were walking along and they had a little chat to me and stuff, and they were quite enthusiastic about it and just intrigued to see what it was. Whereas I was flying it bizarrely in my back garden when I first got it, just to see what it could do. And I basically just flew up to about sort of 10-15 meters and back down again. And then some guy came over and went, "Oh, I've got kids playing in my back garden." Oh, and I was like, okay. The implication being that I was going to spy on his kids playing in his back garden from my back garden with my drone. I mean, you know, I was fine. He wasn't aggressive or anything. I just was like, yeah, no problems. I'm not going to go fly over you. But it just seemed it was a very strange interaction, because like the implication that I would be spying on kids, which I wouldn't. Just to be clear, yeah, that was odd. But I feel like drones are definitely becoming mass market. Like, these things are really good. Anyone can fly them. I think people overestimate how difficult they are to fly until they have a go of it. I mean, I'm used to flying these little tiny Hubsan drones, which are an effort to fly. You know, you've got to fly them inside because they get blown away by the slightest breeze, and you know you've got to try and stop smashing into the walls and so on and so forth. And they don't just stay there by themselves, however much you mess around with all the trim and everything. Whereas these bad boys, it's almost like not fun flying them, because there's very little you have to do. I mean, your function is to not crash it into stuff, which is fine. But the enjoyment then comes from trying to get good footage, or find an interesting angle on something or whatever. Now, I think that the Spark could do that. I think that the Mavic can do that, and this new one will probably be able to do that. So it's going to be a case of what prices and what these extra little features are. Is hand gestures a big thing for you? Do you want to be able to like raise it up and lower it down, etc., etc.? To me, I don't really care about that. I'm all about the sticks. The footage, 4K at 60. I mean, if it's good quality, I quite like the idea of that. I mean, I think being able to slow it down will definitely potentially lead to some creative, interesting possibilities. 21-minute flight time, so I mean, you know, your results may vary on the flight times. This one is supposed to have, like, I believe it's 26-27 minutes flight time. The reality is that the app starts beeping at me when I've got 30% battery, to give me plenty of time to get back from wherever I am. And my actual flight time is not anywhere near 27 minutes, because I'm not going to sit there and fly it around until it hits the ground. But certainly it's, you know, quarter of an hour or whatever, and I've got 2 batteries. It's fine. I never sort of sit there and think to myself, God, I wish I had more batteries. Maybe if I was doing it professionally, I would, in which case I would just get more batteries. I mean, they're expensive, but they're not that expensive. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is, basically. I mean, it's only this afternoon or evening, I think, for me, that this is going to get announced, and then we get to find out answers to all the questions. I looked at the picture. Now, I don't know, the gimbal kind of looks a bit different to, I mean, that is the one thing I would say about this one. The gimbal is quite a sort of complicated little exposed bit there, and when you see people crashing them, they don't tend to survive well, shall we say, the gimbals. They tend to get ripped off quite easily by the looks of things. And it feels a little bit flimsy. When I'm putting the gimbal clamp in there, I worry I'm going to damage it or whatever. I've got some Polar Pro ND filters which I put on there as well, which when I'm putting them on, I haven't ever broken it, but I feel a little bit worried that potentially I could break it. So the new look on the gimbal on this picture anyway, which I'll actually put onto the screen for you, it looks a bit more, maybe more robust, certainly more protected. It also looks like it's definitely going to fold up, which I think was not a criticism, but a comment that people made about the Spark. Like, it was smaller than the Mavic, but at the same time you couldn't fold it up, so you were always lacking that ability to make it smaller, which, you know, I guess it made it more robust, but at the same time you didn't get the sort of size saving that you could do with the Mavic. I'm assuming that Polar Pro and various other manufacturers will get some ND filters banged out for it within minutes, no doubt. Because, I mean, one of the reasons I haven't included video on here is that I'm still trying to get to grips with the ND filter scenario. I see the footage that people get with it is clearly great. Mine isn't as great. So I know that I have to step my game up in terms of figuring out what I'm doing with that. I've watched a bunch of tutorials. I still am a little bit confused by it. So if you have any ND filter tips, leave them down in the comment section below. Certainly, if you have any thoughts on what we're going to expect from the Mavic Air, then by all means let me know. Also, do you think that this is going to replace the Mavic Pro, or replace the Spark, or be like a third tier? I am a bit sceptical about that, especially at $700, because that's kind of taken away some people from the Mavic and kind of taken some people away from the Spark, rather than making an actual new level, so to speak. I mean, maybe I don't know enough about marketing and all that sort of stuff to make a informed decision on that, but I wonder whether that's going to be taken away from the Mavic Pro. And if it is taken away from, if the Mavic Pro goes and this is the replacement for it, that's fine, but then you've got to assume it's going to have the longer range. You've got to assume that it's going to have like good codecs and so on and so forth. Whereas if it's doing it to the Spark, then that gives it a bit more wiggle room, so to speak, because there's definitely room for improvement on the Spark. Not that there was anything wrong with it, just that there was. So anyway, we'll have a little look and see what happens, and hopefully good things. I'm certainly excited to see what they come up with. I just love the fact that DJI do not seem to be taking their foot off the throttle on sort of consumer drones, making better stuff available to normal people, making it harder to crash, because apparently this one has got more sensors and stuff everywhere over it. I mean, it just makes me really excited to see what they come up with next, and also to see more stuff. I mean, obviously there's potential for over-reliance on drone footage, etc., but whatever, there's over-reliance on gimbals for people making vlogs and stuff like that now. You know, when a new thing comes out, becomes accessible, and some people see some cool stuff, everyone's going to do it. That's just the way it is. I'm doing it. I've got a standard like video setup here now. Everyone seems to have. I mean, I guess you're just hoping that you're gonna find something that sparks your creativity, makes you happy, you're enjoying what you're doing, and other people are enjoying it. That's the magic there. And if anyone ever manages to achieve that, wicked. And I think having tools like these bad boys available is only going to help. So hopefully we'll see more exciting stuff. See less people flying them into places they shouldn't and doing stupid things. I mean, that's a whole other discussion, which I'm you know, there's plenty of people going on about that. I'm not going to be another one of them. So anyway, I think I've dragged on plenty long enough for this. So anyway, as I say, let me know your thoughts down in the description, and then I suppose later on tonight we will see what the situation is.